Okay, so welcome everyone again to the API Vision Working Group. And I'm going to start sharing my screen with the current dashboard. I think everything is public, I guess, so it's not a problem to share. But basically, I want to discuss ideas, how we can improve our current board, because I think that at the moment it's not completely clear. Like, this is the current dashboard that we have, and for me it's difficult to know what is the status of everything. Like, like, it's clear who is working on what, but apart from that, we cannot see the progress. So I'm thinking that maybe we can introduce some workflow labels, so that way maybe we can iterate of for different states. So we can use any workflows that we want, so it doesn't need to map exactly one by one with what we use for engineering. So what is your ideas related to this? I'm open to see your opinions.
I'll go first if no one else wants to. I mean, I liked your ideas, Arturo, just having like in-dev and workflow review. I think the one comment on that is in development may sound specific. Maybe there's not any development necessarily. It's just like in progress. So I don't know if we have something like that we could use instead. But yeah, roughly, I think any of those would work. Anyone else have opinions? No opinions. No labels or labels? Any opinions?
I mean, why can't we go with our simple in-dev and in review? Yes, in-dev is not exactly in progress, but as this is mostly an engineering working group, in-dev should be perfectly fine to work on the issue. So we can say in-dev is in progress, in review probably won't be useful, but we can finish with something like, I mean, when issue is closed, it's also reflected in the board. So it should be fine. At least we can have an open issue, maybe ready for development when it's there, in-dev and closed.
Yeah, I'm happy to go with that way. I think maybe also useful could be blocked, because if someone is blocked, maybe like, something is ready for the to start working on that, then in dev, maybe block, and then it's open or close, right? So I think that is going to work. Yeah.
So in dev, blocked. Oh, you said someone said also ready for dev, right? In dev, blocked, closed. I like that.
Cool. Okay. So yeah, I'm going to modify the dashboard later and see how it works. Cool. So next point is Sarah.
Hey, thanks, Arturo. Hey, folks. You probably have seen me posting in the working group Slack channel, but thanks so much for all the feedback already on the work we're doing. We're starting to kind of get some headway into drafting some API terms of service to deal really with the kind of gaps that we're seeing, that there's some developers who aren't actually captured by any of our other agreements. So there's nothing in place saying how we expect them to behave and to set out ownership and licensing, things like that. But as part of that, one of the questions we've come upon at the moment is at what point we start collecting personal data, because we have a placeholder for privacy within those terms. And we just couldn't find a lot of clarity around when we start collecting things like IP addresses, if just send connecting via API key. So I was wondering if there's any kind of clarity you folks might be able to give to me to kind of help us kind of move up forward with this blocker.
So we may need to investigate that. And I think probably the best thing is like if you have specific questions, for example, that one about the API, but maybe you have any other question, maybe you can create an issue and then we continue from there. I think unless someone already have the answer to that, because I don't have the answer, like where we start collecting, for example, the API, like or when that happened in our system.
Yeah, I don't know about where, but we can say that we are collecting IP addresses, right? So we're using that for rate limiting, if nothing else, right? For unauthenticated requests.
I guess so, yeah, and also for logging, I would assume all requests
Right.
have at least the IP address logged. And you mentioned tokens as well, and I think, I'm not sure if we can identify the user based on the token. I think that's something we'd have to investigate.
It sounds like the best route then is to pop an issue into you guys and then see if someone can kind of investigate that further. I've identified IP address, that tends to be like the most frequent one that most kind of companies gather anyway. Obviously, if, during the course of the analysis, if we were to find that there was more than that, by all means, obviously do let us know. Because right now we've kind of done analysis of what other companies are doing, and some are like very explicit in their privacy collection and detail a lot of different types, while others are like completely quiet. So I can't understand if that means they're not collecting it or they're just not being transparent. Possibly the latter, but obviously we want to make sure we're being as transparent as we can as well. So I will pop in that request. I might follow up with you directly on that, Arturo, just to make sure I'm popping it into the right place, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine. And then there is a thing that is like more than collecting. Sometimes it's just that we are like logging things that is happening in the system. Mm-hmm. So maybe that's we have to investigate for how long in Kibana, for example, or other systems, like for how long we collect that, because maybe it could be like maybe only 30 days, but I'm not sure. So it just having the issue, we can start giving you feedback about that.
That's awesome. Thanks. Cool. Well, on that note, I'll bow. If I have anything else, I'll pop into channel. But again, thanks for all the help so far, especially Grant and Arturo. I know we've been throwing a lot of questions at you, so thanks very much for that. And have a good one. Talk to you later.
Glad to help how we can.
Cheers. Bye.
Cheers.
Sorry, I just would like to pick up on a previous topic. I see, Arturo, you mentioned the clients that use the API topic. Do you want any insights from me there? Because I won't really have time to do anything on that, but I can update you what I did a year ago or something like that, if it's interesting for you.
Yeah, so this is related to the like the clients that we are using. Yes. on the for the APIs that you were working on collecting, like some of the headers and other things to understand what are the main clients. So Grant, I think, created an epic to work on different aspects about user personas, consumers, and different things. And I think that what we can do is create an issue for that to investigate the clients, and maybe I'm not sure if we can continue or restart your previous work, or maybe something different. It depends, but yeah, I think that we can continue in some way with that. So nothing specific from you at the moment, but maybe we can talk asynchronously about that.
Okay.
Yeah, and thanks, Arturo, for putting that one on my radar. Yeah, I hadn't gone through these points just yet, so maybe I'll talk through those and share updates. And if there's any discussion to be had, we can open it up. We had the issue define API user personas, etc. So as Arturo was sharing, I promoted that to an epic. I broke out a number of issues underneath that, so you can see progress where the API user survey is now there. It's live. It's on our docs site. We have 50 responses already, so that seems like a pretty great start. I've also broken out other issues for analyzing that data, starting more customer interviews. I've already had a couple of conversations, but building a pipeline of customers to talk to, analyzing that feedback, and then updating blueprints and personas based on that. So those are the issues I have so far, and that's where that question came from. Hey, are there any other issues that we're missing under that epic that I'm not thinking of? And Arturo pointed that one out. So yeah, I think doing an investigation on the clients and seeing if we can pick up that issue from Victor, that would be great. And I think I skipped a question here. Natalia, do you want to verbalize that?
Yes, it's pretty short about user survey. Can this be shared with our front end? Maybe just a few engineers from the front end, so we don't really destabilize these 50 responses, because front end is also a user of our APIs.
Yeah, no, I think that makes sense. I had that question in another channel. I don't see any issue including internal users. The one thing I guess I would suggest is to include, there's an area where you can put in your company name. So if you select certain options, just put in GitLab. That way we can filter out those responses and get certain data. And we could also just do specific analysis around internal users, et cetera. So we can segment however we want. I think just we'll kind of key it off of the company name.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for the question. And in rounding out this this epic, updates on this epic, one highlight based on the surveys and conversations I've had so far is that if we could focus on updating our open API spec and automating the updates to the spec there, that would be a huge win. A lot of developers are would like to be able to depend on something that's consistent and automatic, and they can kind of create tooling around that. Another interesting highlight so far on the question I know everyone's really interested in is consistency between REST and GraphQL and preference between the two. I'm jury's still out. I want to keep capturing responses, but so far the heaviest responses is around no preference. So it seems like these are developers who are willing to go and use REST or GraphQL. And then the next priority is around REST, around 40% of responses so far. And I said 40 to 50% no preference because I was also kind of looking at segmenting for enterprise only and then comparing to like more broadly. And so with kind of like filtering on more enterprise types of users, no preference actually increases quite a bit. And then the preference for REST, I think, was staying around the same, around 40%. Okay, moving on to the next issue that I've been kind of tracking is around global API observability, and ultimately just no time yet to focus on this on my end, so no progress yet. I would still appreciate any engineering counterpart who wants to raise their hand and help drive this issue or epic. What I'm thinking about doing this week is going and taking a look at the GraphQL blueprint issues and pulling in those that are relevant here, and also defining questions that I think will help us to drive. I think we were talking about last time, if we just had a list of dashboards we need, that would probably be a good place to start. And I want to define questions that we want to answer, and that should help us to identify what dashboards we need. So that's next up for me. But while we're here, if anyone wants to raise their hand to participate in that, this is a chance. Or if you're watching the recording, you can reach out to me or in the issue here. Cool. Any comments, questions on these two epics?
Do you have like a specific priorities within the epic? Because I guess that is going to be like, we start with issues, then we promote those issues into epics. So I think the next thing is to identify what are the first thing that we want to achieve for each epic, right? Because otherwise it's like, everything, if there is no priority, everything is a priority, right? So, or maybe not priority, but some order, right?
Do you so do you mean under these two epics that I was referring to, API user personas,
Yeah.
or
About both, and in general, it's like I think that maybe for you and me, it's like to go over the epics and try to see what is the order and clarify what is the order with the group, right?
Right, yeah. So I have a couple of thoughts on that. On the user personas epic, I feel like it's pretty well ordered. So I think there's kind of two, I guess, streams of work here. One is the survey. So I'm collecting the data and we'll then analyze that and share that back. And then I'm going to continue with customer interviews, and I'll probably define some scope to that. But let's say we want to have 15, 20 conversations, and then analyze that feedback and share it out, and then work on the blueprints of personas. So I think that's pretty well ordered. API observability, I'm not sure yet. I think, like I said, I want to kind of pull in the issues and then define questions and try to order it there. So I'm still working on that. But I think more broadly, my hope is to get some of the data and feedback from those conversations and from the survey to help us define a kind of a prioritization framework. So maybe we can start adding some labels, whether they're priority labels or something else, that are based on some agreed logic from conversations in this working group, based on that data. So that's where I'm hoping we can go next. As we're collecting that we can share it out, make some decisions, and then start prioritizing issues off of that, like more broadly across the working group. Does that help, or you still have questions, Arturo?
No, that sounds good. Sounds good. So maybe we can catch up tomorrow, and then when we are on the same page together, maybe after that we can share with the group.
Yeah, that sounds good.
And apart from these updates, I'm not sure if someone make progress in some of any other issue and they want to share something, or like maybe it's not enough progress during these 2 weeks and nothing to update to the group. Okay. Anything else? Doesn't look like. Okay, so yeah, so have a nice week and see you next time.
Have a great
Bye.
week.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.